Cranbrook Mental Asylum, a name whispered with fear. Shrouded in darkness, it stood on a desolate hill, a monument to madness. Abandoned for decades, its decaying walls held secrets, stories of patients driven mad, cruel experiments, unexplained deaths. Some dismissed it as legend, others knew better. They felt the chill, a warning to stay away. One hot July night, 4 friends dared to enter, drawn by morbid curiosity. They were young. They craved thrills. They didn't believe the stories. They would soon learn the truth. Cranbrook's grip was real. The air inside was heavy, almost suffocating. Thick with dust and decay, it clung to their clothes and skin. A musty odor filled their nostrils, making it hard to breathe. The smell of sickness and fear lingered in the air, almost tangible. They walked through long, empty corridors, their footsteps echoing loudly, past padded cells and rusted medical equipment, relics of a forgotten time. Each step echoed in the silence, amplifying their unease and heightening their senses. Mark, the bold one, joked about ghosts, trying to lighten the mood. But it was clear he was trying to mask his growing fear, his voice trembling slightly. As they entered a large common room, a shadow moved, catching their attention. In the corner of their eyes, they saw a fleeting glimpse of something, gone as quickly as it appeared. They stopped, hearts pounding, holding their breath in anticipation. Silence enveloped them. Then nervous laughter broke the tension. They convinced themselves it was just their imagination. They pressed on, deeper into the asylum's bowels. The temperature dropped, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into their very bones. Their breaths formed clouds in the air, each exhale a visible reminder of the freezing atmosphere. The silence was broken by whispers, faint and ethereal, like distant echoes of forgotten souls. Coming from the walls themselves, the whispers seemed to be embedded in the very fabric of the building. They couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a tone filled with pain, suffering, and anger, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. Pain, suffering, anger, emotions that seemed to hang in the air, almost tangible. They reached a room at the end of a long, dark hallway. The door loomed ominously before them. The door creaked open as if inviting them in, the sound echoing through the empty halls. Inside, restraints lay open on a gurney, hinting at the dark history of the place. A single flickering light cast long, dancing shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. A cold wind swept through the room, sending chills down their spines and making the shadows dance even more. Despite the lack of a visible source, they felt a presence, unseen but palpable, watching them. The air was thick with tension, as if the very walls were alive and aware of their intrusion. Panic began to set in. They wanted to leave, escape the suffocating darkness, but the asylum held them in its grip. As they turned to leave the room, the door slammed shut. The sound echoed through the empty halls. They rattled the handle, but it wouldn't budge. They were trapped. They pounded on the door, their cries for help swallowed by the silence. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them. They could feel their sanity slipping away. The darkness seemed to press in, choking them. They were no longer just visitors. They were prisoners. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. The air grew thick with an unsettling stillness, as if the very walls were holding their breath. A deathly silence fell upon them, more chilling than any sound they had heard before. It was as if the world had paused, waiting for something dreadful to unfold. Then, a voice boomed, clear and strong, "Get out!" It echoed through the empty halls, reverberating off the walls and sending shivers down their spines. It wasn't a ghostly whisper, it was human. The clarity and authority in the voice left no room for doubt. A man stood in the doorway, his silhouette stark against the dim light. His presence was both a relief and a new source of fear. He looked as startled as they were, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and urgency. He fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking. After what felt like an eternity, he finally unlocked the door, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. "You shouldn't be here," he breathed, his eyes wide with fear. His voice was barely a whisper, but the urgency was unmistakable. He led them out into the night, the cold air hitting their faces like a slap. They stumbled, their hearts pounding, as they tried to make sense of what was happening. As they stumbled away, he called after them, "This isn't a game!" His voice was filled with a desperation that made their blood run cold. "This place, it's not what it seems," he warned. his voice echoing in the darkness. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. "You were never meant to see this," he continued, his tone filled with a mix of regret and fear. The gravity of their situation began to sink in. He pointed to a spot behind them, his hand trembling. They turned slowly, dread pooling in their stomachs. There on the wall, a security camera. Its red light blinked ominously, a silent witness to their every move. They had been watching them the whole time. But who was they? The question lingered, unanswered and terrifying. And what was the true secret of Cranbrook? The mystery deepened, leaving them with more questions than answers. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. Stay tuned for the next mystery.